It's been nearly 2 weeks since the shocking events at Appalachia High School. 4 people were shot to death. 9 others were injured. It kept the discussion about gun ownership and access to firearms and school safety in the spotlight. This week, Doug Richards from the 11 Alive political team talked with former Georgia Congressman Bob Barr, who is now the president of the NRA.
We've had firearms available in our country to families and groups ever since our country was founded. What we're seeing nowadays, though, is a propensity on the part of individuals to abuse those firearms. And whether it's a young person like we saw here in Georgia, whether it is a young person, a young man like we saw shooting at President Trump, that's the problem.
Is there a way to argue successfully with you that maybe there are also too many guns?
If we're going to say, well, we have too many firearms out there, one could always make that argument. What's changed is the people that are abusing those firearms, and it's a serious problem.
In Georgia, there was an effort to require parents with firearms to keep them safely locked away if there were children in the house. Do bills like that make sense to you?
They certainly are pieces of legislation and ideas that ought to be carefully considered. I think there was an effort to do it through tax laws, but while those might address some small part of the problem, they don't get to the most serious problem, which is the breakdown of the family and the lack of proper parenting.
I guess if the family is broken down and there are firearms in the house, limiting access to those firearms might at least decrease that part of gun violence.
I don't know that any laws that you have is going to teach individuals how to properly parent a child.
I've heard it argued that one reason not to have safe storage laws is because it impedes the Second Amendment rights of the gun owners. What do you think about that?
It certainly impedes the right for a person to defend themselves. If there is an intruder that comes into a person's home late at night, and it's dark, if they have a firearm available nearby, but it's in a locked container, for example, where you have to do something in order to open that, in order to access the firearm, or if it has some sort of trigger lock on it that requires you to find the key and use the key or punch in a code, those are precious seconds that could be lost and make the difference between life and death.
And yet at the same time, those would also keep children out from accessing the firearm, right?
Well, you can keep children from accessing firearms by outlawing all firearms. And the most important thing when you're faced with a life or death situation is to be able to have the ability to protect yourself.
And what I'm asking is whether there's a compromise that can be made that can respect Second Amendment rights and yet also respect sort of the fact of life of there being these issues in families like you're talking about.
The fundamental right that we're talking about, even before one looks at the Second Amendment itself, is the pre-existing right that is a human right to be able to defend oneself, self-defense, which is the basis for the Second Amendment, but is the fundamental underpinning of it. So I think anything that is considered legislatively, for example, has to account for that fundamental human right. And are you improperly impeding it? You don't want to say, well, we're going to put this law in place to take care of the unlikely but horrible situation that might occur if a young person who's predisposed to commit a crime obtains a firearm. We have to balance that against the right of the parents, the owner of the house, to be able to protect themselves and their family when they most need it. It's a very delicate balance. You're right.